Welcome, everyone. My name is Farida Al-Agami. I'm the General Manager of the Tharawat Family Business Forum. And on behalf of New York University, Abu Dhabi, and Tharawat, I welcome you to this webinar in conjunction with the Family Business Histories Research Project. Today's session will take around 1 hour, and it's basically a great pleasure for us to have this session with all of you today, because we are able to launch our third case study that is prepared in a series of case studies in this research in the framework of this research project. Before we get started with our session, just a couple of hints on how to best enjoy this webinar. You are most welcome at any given time to ask your questions. Please feel free to drop them in the Q&A field. You can also send us panelists a question in the chat. If you have any issues, please feel free to contact our colleagues, either on WhatsApp or on email. And of course, you are free to adjust your view, as by now, I'm sure everybody is very well versed with these webinar settings on Zoom. So without any further ado, first of all, we'd like to start off with giving you a bit of an impression of the project that frames this session of today. Our Family Business Histories project is a collaborative project between New York University, Abu Dhabi, and the Tharawat Family Business Forum. And I'd like to invite Professor Martin Klimke from New York University to come on online and introduce our project in a couple of slides.
Thank you very much, Farida. We're very, very happy to, launch our third case study today. And, we are celebrating our partnership and our collaboration. Just a brief reminder in case you haven't, seen previous webinars or haven't heard of our project, we're trying really to do something new by compiling, documenting, and analyzing the history, legacy, and the socioeconomic impact of family businesses in the GCC and MENASA region. That's our mission, as a project. The reason being is that we have a lot of family-owned businesses in the private sector, as you can see here on this map, detailing the percentage of family-owned businesses in the private sector. So it's a huge chunk of the economy, and we're very eager to explore this and giving, family businesses their due in economic activities and analyses. Some of the world's oldest family businesses you see here, on display worldwide. One of the key trajectories of our project is obviously to highlight, the family businesses in the region that we're looking at. So our goals really as part of this project is to understand the history, through academic research of these family businesses that we're looking at, and also to highlight their legacy. We're especially interested, in the various generational components, 2 or 3 or more generations of each family businesses, how that dynamic unfolded through time, and also obviously preserving the heritage, of these family businesses through archival processes, digitization, oral histories, and so on and so forth. And last but not least, obviously, the goal here is to inspire the future to have an impact, on the current business leaders in various fields by making them aware of the history and the shoulders that they stand on as current day entrepreneurs. Why? I mean, that's obviously, something that we have thought about a lot. As I said, family businesses, make a huge chunk of the economy all over the world, in particular in the MENASA economies. They're a pillar of those economies. Their sustainability is crucial to the region at large. Family businesses require vision and joint purpose, and we'll talk about the governance component in today's webinar, as well as the collective decision-making processes. And I think our historic understanding and the shared identity is key for that particular strategic vision for the future. In other words, we're trying to use our case studies as opportunities to learn from the historical challenges that business founders and leaders have faced in the past, and really using family businesses as a prism through which we can view the country, the countries, as well as the region's multifaceted histories. Over to you, Farida.
Thank you so much, Martin, for this introduction. And obviously today is a special day for us and for our research team, because after about 2 years of work, we're able to launch the case study on NCA-Rouiba, an Algerian family business. And you can go to our website. We will also paste the link in the chat shortly, so you can download the case study. This time, the case study is written not just in English and in Arabic, but also in French, because of course, a large portion of the Maghreb is still very much French speaking. And we wanted to make sure that this case study is available to as many people as possible. So this would not be a special occasion, of course, to launch this case study if we weren't able to bring on board the driver behind allowing us to write this case study, who is Mr. Salah Othmani, the former chairman of NCA-Rouiba. And I'd like to invite Salah to join us with camera and sound, and I hope it's going to hold. So welcome, Salah, to this session.
Hello, thank you, Farida, and thank you, Martin. Thank you, Tharawat team, for giving us this opportunity.
Our pleasure, Salah. And I'd like to say upfront that we are truly grateful for the openness and the availability that you have shown for our research team to visit you in Algeria, to visit your factory, and to really try and document the history of NCA-Rouiba in much detail. So thank you very much for that openness and generosity of sharing. What we will be doing is to kick off. We will hand over to Salah for a couple of minutes because obviously many of our guests today have not yet seen the case study. So we wanted to hear the story about NCA-Rouiba from yourself, Salah. So we'd love for you to kind of give us a quick overview over the quite moved, actually, history of NCA-Rouiba. And then after that, we will come back and have a conversation all together. I'd like to encourage all our attendees to really share their thoughts, engage with us. This is supposed to be a very interactive session. So without any further ado, Salah, over to you, and thanks again for being here with us.
Thank you, Farida. You know, all my commitment to family businesses, research, and it's a subject of a great interest for me. And talking about the history of NCA-Rouiba, I'm not going to make it long. It's a history of agribusiness, an agribusiness led by a family in North Africa, mainly in Algeria. But I said North Africa because it started before the independence of Algeria. Since the family moved during the colonial period, they moved to Tunisia, my grandfather, with not his kids, because all the kids were born in Tunisia. They moved in Tunisia at the border of Algeria because they find it safer and easier to do business there, because my grandfather was a wholesaler of agri-product, canned food, fruits, vegetables, etc. And in 1966, the story began, because he has one of his kids, it's my father. I could say that the story began with the entrepreneurship spirit of the elder one, which is my father, called Salah. And in 1966, he convinced the family, after the end of colonization, he convinced them to move to Algeria, a country they haven't seen, no one of the kids haven't seen. So they arrived in 1966 in Algeria, and in the agribusiness, he decided to create a plant to produce canned food. And from 1996 to 1972, the company was managed by my grandfather and my father. During the period until 2019, there is 6 big periods. The first one is 1966, 1972. My father and my grandfather are managing the business in a, let's say, in a modern environment, because it was the remaining of an economy, a liberal economy set by the French in Algeria. In 1972, things started changing because Algeria had decided to follow socio-communism. I'm not going to call it socialist, I'm not going to call it communist, but socio-communism, and it changed radically the business environment for private entrepreneurs and also for the family, because we're in the industry, and the government decided to nationalize many companies, all the private companies that shows, let's say, a huge potential for the government. And we were on the list, and hopefully at the last minute, one day before they decide to nationalize us in 1973, they decided not to do it for many reasons, because the family and my father had a lot the Algerian Revolution, and we were too small to show really an interest for the Algerian government. So from 1970 to 1990, 1990, sorry for my English, the business was managed by my father, my grandfather, and my uncles. Unfortunately, 1978, my grandfather passed away, and my father has decided, for political reason, I'm not going to go in detail. He decided to go to France and to stay there for a long period of time, a few years. And the management was in hand with my uncles Saïd and my uncle Hadi. So till 1990, the business is facing more and more challenges to overcome, because the business environment was totally unstable. There is no way to forecast anything, sales, procurements, whatsoever. You don't know, the laws are changing gradually, and Algeria started facing huge issue about the availability of foreign currency because of the drop in oil prices at the end of the 80s. And Algeria have a huge debt, close to $30 billion, which and the country was unable to repay at that moment the debt. And 1991, the crisis of the debt really led to big troubles in Algeria. It's 1988 the troubles that start, but the apex or of the troubles happened at the end of 1990, 1991 with a political problem. The army stopped the legislative election process, and the civil war started until 2000, until the arrival of Bouteflika in 1999. And from 1990 to 1999, I was not in the picture before 1990. I was living in Canada, and I decided to return to Algeria, where my father also decided to be more involved in the business, and he returned also from France. More or less we returned at the same period, and the period of civil war. Everyone is asking me, but you are completely crazy going to Algeria in 1991. The country will explode. We faced during the whole period 200,000 deaths. So it was another challenge, a challenge of the business environment and a security challenge. And I can say many things about this period, many things about leadership, many things about security issue, how to handle that, many things on how to motivate people in an secure environment, and many things about the relation with the authority related to the business environment, which is a very important topics from my point of view. 1999 to 2019, Bouteflika arrived, and civil war ended, and the price of oil started going up, and it was, let's say, a really wealthy period, and the private sector exploded in Algeria. unfortunately not for a long period of time, because in 2005, as usual, instability in Algeria, not political instability, but business environment instability, has led to the stop in the opening of the country to foreign direct investment and to denationalization process. They stopped everything. Up to now, we don't know why, but we have an idea about why, but it's not the purpose of our meeting. And in 1999, the story about the company is that during family meeting, I proposed to take the control of NCA-Rouiba. I had a plan to make Rouiba another company, to manage in a different style the company. From 1966 until 1999, it was a really family business old style management. Orders are coming daily from the family members. No one knows who's the head of the company, but they know that my father is the head of the company, but he delegates everything to his brothers and the employee, and even, you know, the relation with the employee is totally unclear and non-transparent. 1999, so I present my plan to the family. They agree on that. I can talk if someone wants to hear about that. I would be glad to explain exactly how I do it. I explained to the family member that we need to change. We need to professionalize the management of the company, and we need to address many issues that I identified and I showed them. And they accepted that I control totally the company. By the way, I was already at that time the biggest shareholder because of the decision of my father, and he gave me all his shares and he split it with me and my sister. And so I became de facto the general manager of the company, and my father was the president, but the president, honorary president, without any decision, let's say, not right, but he's not taking decision. He gave me all the decision in hand. Until 2017, my father passed away. We have, let's say, improved the management of the company. We introduced an investment fund in the company. We work a lot on the governance of the company. We apply strict governance rule, which is something that, let's say, creates sort of stress and challenges in the relation with the family, because, you know, during 1966 to 1999, the style of the management is exactly the same. All the business families in the country, we overcome challenges with the business environment, with the rule, with the fiscal system. So everyone is playing with the fiscal system, is playing with the business environment to make sure that his investment is procuring the right return to the family members that are shareholders. So when you start applying strict governance rule, you discover that you are not making as much money as you expect from out of your business, because the fiscal system is in the country is totally incoherent, and we call it a confiscatory fiscal system. It means that you are working for the government, you are not working for the shareholders, which is a different approach. So we try to, let's say, to balance in between and create a situation where shareholders could be happy, and without contourner, I don't know, without breaking the rules of law. So 2019, at the end of 2019, because also we faced a lot of issues related to the economical crisis that hit Algeria in 2014, 2015. And because of the arrival of COVID, we faced a lot of issue internally also. And I decided to bring another shareholder who took the majority of the company at the end of 2019. And I decided to resign as president of the company, and I decided to resign from the day-to-day operation. And now that's why I'm the past president of NCA-Rouiba. Now I'm just board member, and I'm taking care of the company, taking care of the business environment of the company, because now I'm heading since 15 years a think tank that take care about the business environment in Algeria and promote economical reforms. This is one part of, let's say, my idea of being a businessman in Algeria or everywhere in the world. As I used to say, an entrepreneur has the responsibility not only within the wall of his company, his responsibilities goes beyond the wall, so he has to pay attention to what was outside. So this is for the historical part of Rouiba in brief, and you see that you understand that we overcome different challenges regarding the business environment that has a huge influence on the way we are managing our business, and also the issue within the family of the next generation, and that I'm part of it. And the founders that are passing away, then it creates different stress in the relation with the family members. We can talk later about COVID issues and how to manage under pressures and politics, etc.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Slim, for this very concise overview over a very complex history. I think that's definitely a very, very impressive timeline that you've given us. I'll get started with a couple of questions from my side and of course from Martin's side, but I'd like to invite, of course, anyone who, even if you have a comment or if you have a question, please feel free to share with us. We'd like to make this an interactive conversation. Slim, just maybe to add to your story towards the end, we have to say that, of course, you have your son who is a director in the company at the moment. Maybe let's get started a little bit on the conversation of continuous entrepreneurship. So you have, as a family business, as you've explained to us, you've gone through extreme phases of pressure, mostly macroeconomic, but also internal. Can you explain to us a little bit what it is that you think has made sure that, in a way, in each generation, there was an entrepreneurial spirit that kept going? Do you feel that that is, it's a coincidence, or is there something in the value system or in the education of your family that has contributed to that entrepreneurship to continue across generations?
You know, I asked myself many times when I gave speeches, unfortunately in French, to students in Algeria about entrepreneurship. Are we born entrepreneur? Is there a genetics in that? Yes, no. I think not everyone could be entrepreneur. I think it has to do with education more. I'm not going to talk about genetics, otherwise I will go to other stuff more complicated. It has to do with education, and it has to do with the environment you grew in. When I was a kid, I remember when I'm visiting Algeria, I grew up in Tunisia, but I go once or twice a year in Algeria. My father takes me to the plant. In Tunisia, we have kept our businesses as wholesalers. So, I want to visit the family that are managing this wholesaler business, and I have the smell of the product, the spices, the spicy ingredient that they are selling, the canned food, the vegetable, etc. So I grew up in that, and I started understanding the dynamics of the business in terms of logistics, in terms of human resources, in terms of competency, in terms of equipment, production that we need, etc. And you don't know when you're a kid, you don't know how many information you collect, but those information at the end, integrate themselves together and make your entrepreneurship spirit or your center of interest in your brain. Why I didn't show any interest in aeronautics, why I didn't show any interest in other stuff. It has to do only with education. I probably, if I grew in a family of painter, I would have been probably I would have been a painter, an artist, not painter building, but an artist. Oh, why not?
Or why not? Yeah.
Why not?
Exactly.
So it's not. I don't think it's a coincidence. It's only the fact that you grew up in that environment, so you have a sensitivity for that environment. But one thing, I think it's very important. I don't have, for me, I don't know. My father want me either be a doctor or be or be involved in his businesses. I choose the one that I have the sensitivity with. But I will not. I have decided not to push my kids to go in that direction. I told them, choose whatever you want. The world is full of opportunities. Don't refrain yourself from exploring other world of opportunity than the one of agribusiness. So my daughter went to the arts in Berlin, by the way. My daughter went to the art environment. My son Yusuf, he stayed in the company until now. He's a marketing manager, but he decided to explore other entrepreneurship opportunities while being a marketing manager that has nothing to do with agribusiness. I'm really happy about that. So to make it short, it's how you were educated, how you grew up, and how you see also the challenges the family overcome. And if you are a man of challenges, which I am, I'm a golf player, and all golf players that are listening to us, there's a difference between having the ball on the fairway and having the ball in the rough. I'm very strong in the rough. In the fairway, I'm a good player, but I'm not as good as in the rough. In the rough, I can find a solution. In the fairway, the solution is here. Let's say it's wrong what I'm saying, but because sometimes in fairway, the solution is very difficult to find. But I prefer to be in the rough than being in the fairway, which is very strange.
Great, thank you, Slim.
Well, speaking of challenges, I think this is certainly a wonderful transition. Your company and its products have, become over the decades or have risen to national prominence. And at the same time, I think the history of your company is, taking place at the same time that the country itself is undergoing, turbulent political and economic waters. So how would you reflect on, the impact, the political context has had on your business operations over the years? You touched on it already in the introduction, but how would you reflect on that in general?
Yeah, let me consider only one period, the last period, because they change too much and it has a huge impact. Or I can distinguish two periods: before 1990 and after 1990. Before 1990, could you imagine an industrial company in the agribusiness that is not allowed to invest in equipment to produce, which is completely crazy? But the country is working like that. If you want to improve your operation, have a new equipment that gives you an advantage, or a competitive advantage, or improve your productivity, reduce your waste, etc. You're not allowed to buy it. So what we are doing at that period, I heard it because I'm not managing the company. I heard it from my father and my uncle, and I saw it. We import some equipment that we really need them in spare parts. They dismantle, the seller is dismantled totally his line of production, and they send it to us in pieces, and we reassemble the production line, not a huge production line, but at least small production lines. We reassemble them to have some. So there is a huge impact on how we operate. Secondly, sometimes we need some packaging to produce at the international standards. Could you imagine a company that needs that type of packaging that is not available in the country, and the government allow you to import less, you will listen to me, less than 0.3% of your production capacity yearly? So you have lines that produce 0.3% maximum of your capacity, which is completely crazy. How are we handling that? We are handling that by producing other stuff with local packaging. Those local packaging are not complying with international standard regarding the health, regarding etc. But we couldn't do anything. We have to deal with that. Now, the second period, after 1990, we are allowed to do whatever we want. We can import packaging, we can import equipment until 1999, until 2000, sorry. I'm not saying that after 2000 it is forbidden, but the rules are changing dramatically. During the Civil War, it was a period where we witnessed a really commitment from the government and the Algerian administration to promote private entrepreneurs in Algeria. You got authorization within 24 hours. Everything is easy. Laws are clear. We are working in an incredible, smoothly, in an incredible way. It's perfect. When Civil War stopped, the bureaucracy took over the control of all the economy of the country. And they said, okay, we were very nice with you during 10 years. Now we have to beat you a little bit because it works like that. And the power is in our hand. We don't want the power goes in hand with the private sector. So they decided to create hundreds of rules that makes our life terrible in terms of how to buy. You are allowed to buy only by letter of credit. You are not allowed to buy things from import things without a letter of credit. It's an example. They are creating obstacles, and they make the life of entrepreneurs really terrible. We consider that we are spending 85% of our time solving bureaucratic issue with the Algerian administration, instead of paying attention to our businesses in marketing, in production quality, consumer behavior, consumer requests, etc. So we deal a lot with political issue. That's why in 1997, in 2000, at the end of 1999, I decided to create a think tank to address those really business environment issue, and we decided to the think tank was called CARE. If people are showing interest in doing business in Algeria, where we produce a lot of things. We even have produced the dashboard of the Algerian economy, which is a fantastic product. It's called care.dz. Care.dz. It's very easy. CRRE. So, and we through this think tank, I had a great impact on the decision process. Secondly, which is very important for me, there is no entrepreneur association that is very active. So instead of going for an entrepreneur association that is fear from the government, I decided to create the Drink Producer Association. This association gather all the drink producers. At the beginning, they were afraid about that. What is this association? We're going to be together. We are competitors. We couldn't be in the same association. But after 1 year, they realized the impact that we could have on the decision of the government. And as example, there is a decision taken in the fiscal law, and we broke that decision. After 1 month, it was published because we were strong, we were together, we represent a force in the country. So I have many hats as entrepreneur, as president of a think tank, at that moment as president of the Drink Producer Association, and it gives to Rouiba brand also another identity, a strong identity of a company that is socially responsible in the country. And we apply strict governance rule that help us do that, because if someone tried to, let's say, to squeeze me, he couldn't tell me that you are playing with the figures of your company, or you are over invoicing things to have money abroad in Switzerland or whatsoever. They couldn't do it because I don't do stuff like that. To protect myself and to protect the image of the company, and to make sure that all my the plaidoyers, all the action that I'm leading to improve the business environment and promote reforms in the country, was heard properly by the government.
I mean, it's a fascinating. Thank you so much, Slim, for clarifying this, because basically what you're saying is that if you're an entrepreneur in a highly volatile environment, your job is far more than just managing your day-to-day operations. It literally is to secure the overall environment for the company to even exist. And I think that's a fascinating, facet to explore. And specifically, if we take into consideration the current context, especially in the MENA, some of the MENA countries are, very much facing similar kind of volatility and have to make do with those realities as well. I'm going to take 2 of the questions from the audience, Slim, if you don't mind. So there's 2 that I'm going to link up, because they kind of relate to the family dynamics. And of course, I want to make sure that you're comfortable answering. I know you only answer the things you're comfortable answering. But the first part of the question is, did you consult your father because you made drastic changes to the company? So before suggesting that and before implementing, did you have a conversation with your father, or did he just let you decide freely? And then the second question that I'd like to pick up is the family conflicts that led you, perhaps not for the business to be sold necessarily, but to bring in the investors on board.
Regarding the decision process, it depends of your personality. In my case, unfortunately, I'm a strong believer in democracy, but not in my business sometimes, because I know that there's a moment where someone has to take decision because it's tough time. You don't have, it's very difficult to appreciate that. You have to take decision. For sure, you think about what kind of process, you have intuition that tells you that you have to go in that direction. You have figures that give you the comfort about taking that decision. But you don't want to be in tough moment. You don't want to have this interference of people that are asking you, oh no, don't do it, I think of doing it. I faced that. I told them, okay, you want to continue with the canned food business? Canned food business is dead in our plant for many reasons, and I explained to them. They said, but canned food is something that we have done historically since 1966. We have to continue to do that. Equipment totally out of date, dying. Employee too old to be trained again and be and operate properly on the equipment. We need to invest heavily to change completely, and we don't have the space to install new equipment or modern equipment in that. So all the reasons, and there's many other reasons, and all the reasons are here not to continue. But they insist. Okay, I told them, okay, this is those are the equipment. If one of you want to do it, the equipment are here. And the plant, we sacrifice 30% of our space occupation in the plant to let those equipment aside, like this. Here, everyone is coming, they look at the equipment not working because they are too old, and no one want me to remove those equipment of the plant. And at the 4th year, I came and I said, okay, no one of you have done anything with this equipment. I get rid of it and I build the new plant, but it's a waste of time. It's huge waste of time. So to come to your question about personality, sometimes you have to take decision alone without consulting. And in my family, I have taken many times decision alone because in my education and the life I had far away from my father, alone with my mother, I have always taken decision alone. So it's my management style. I like to think a lot about decision to take, but alone. It's very bad, I know. I will not recommend that to anyone. But gradually, you started identifying the people who could help
that you can work with.
Process.
Yeah.
But I'm not saying people that tells you, yes, it's good. People that helps you go to the decision, good or not good, but not people that come, oh no, it's bad. I don't like that. I like someone that when I share with him my thoughts, my idea, we started looking at the different directions, and then I come to the conclusion. I don't want him come to the conclusion. Like many consultants do, they go to the conclusion and they kill you. And the second question is about
the conflict that led you to bring in the investors.
Yeah, there's two moments. There is a moment of conflicts that brought investors because the company, the first conflict happened in 2004, 2003. The company is growing like hell. So in every growing company, we need cash. And we don't want to borrow money from the bank because we already have borrowed enough in accordance with the figures of the company. And I looked at the shareholders. I told them we need cash. Every one of you has to put cash. They said, no, we don't put cash. I told them, so if you don't put cash, the company will collapse because it's growing like hell and we couldn't manage that. It's impossible. The bank are full. So they say, no, we don't want. I told them, okay. And all of a sudden, the idea of having an external board member in the board of the company makes sense because the family, the behavior of the family member in a board member where there is not family members is changing radically. Sure. So I told them there is an investment funds who is paying attention. He's paying big interest to Rouiba. They want to be in for 25 or 30% of the company. They said no. I said yes. They said no. I said yes. And then I decided because I have enough right to decide, and they accepted to sign. They signed, and we have this investment fund that brought a lot to the management of the company. Hopefully, But as any investment funds, they have to quit after a certain period of time. And we went to the stock exchange. We made sure that the investment fund could quit through the stock exchange. Unfortunately, the investment fund wanted to quit for only 2/3 of his shares, and they kept 1/3 of their shares until 2019. And in 2019, we don't have a conflict. We have a big issue with one of the family members who played with the figures in a way that even the board couldn't see that. It's a kind of Ponzi pyramid with the figures of the company. And when we discovered that during 2018, we started discussing with him because the amount is very important and could lead to the bankruptcy of the company. And he was at that time the general manager of the company. I was only the president of the board. And we tried to adjust, to correct with him and to help him get out of this issue because he's a family member. And he couldn't find a solution. And the only way for us in summer 2019 is to close the company the 31st of December, or to find an investor who is interested in being in the board for an important amount to bring in the company. And hopefully we found an investor who is a French company. They don't allow me to sit, even everyone knows their name. I'm not allowed to give their name or to talk on their behalf. So I'm not talking on their behalf. And I have them now in the company, and I accepted to be diluted. I haven't sold my shares, but at least I saved the jobs. I saved the brands. I saved the history of the company. And now the company returned to what I was expected: growth, well management, transparency, good governance, and so on. So, but it's a big challenge finding more than 30 million euro in 2 months to be injected in a company, especially in the business environment that we have in Algeria.
Of course.
Totally unstable. We have changes in laws every 2 to 3 months. Could you imagine? It's impossible to forecast anything. Impossible.
Yeah. Martin, do you have any follow-up questions on this? Thank you so much, Seem, for explaining this.
No, I think that was fascinating. I think one of the things that come from the audience, a question that I wanted to invite you to reflect on is, have the consumers, been aware that you operate as a family business, and was that an advantage that was already, visible in the time of your father leading the company?
It's very strange because we discovered when I started my plan of restructuring Rouiba, I told the family, we don't know anything about the consumer in this company. Do you know who is the consumer, who is buying our product, why they are buying them, and how to improve our value proposition? And they didn't answer. And then I discovered that the consumer didn't know that we are a family business. They thought that we were nationalized in the 70s. Could you imagine? We were in 2000 and still people think that we are a public company, which is incredible. All the effort we have done to communicate, and let's say my personality in the business environment in Algeria, everyone knows that I'm the president of Rouiba, but they thought that I'm a president appointed by the government for a public company. So it's which is amazing. But the consumer are not, unfortunately, in socialist communist systems. They educate people with the idea that private sector is hell. So whatever direction you take, either you go at the end of your studies, you go and you work as a civil servant, or you create your own company. Civil servant is like going to heaven, and creating your own company is like signing a pact with Faust, with hell. So It's very strange. And even the media, when they talk about private sector, they didn't talk positively. They always talk about thieves, private sector, they are thieves, etc. They always say that. And this is also one of the actions that I'm trying to overcome, that I'm trying to overcome since more than 20 years, is that changing the appreciation of the private sector in the country, which is impossible because the government is playing with that. They want to make sure that private sector didn't get any piece of power in the country. And in all dictatorship, I'm not saying 100% dictature we have in Algeria, but it's a kind of dictatorship since 1962. In every system that works like that, that works exactly the same in North Africa, private sector either has to be, we call it, I think, crony private sector, it means a strong link with the government and the government control them, or a silent private sector that haven't say any words to change things. So it's very difficult to make the consumer appreciate what we are doing, and it's a long road to make the environment change the appreciation about the private sector.
I always find, thank you, Slim, for explaining that, because to be honest, I always find that very fascinating, because Algeria has a very, very specific makeup because of its political history, of course. And whenever we speak to family firms in Algeria, they kind of reflect that complexity of the relationship, not just with government, but also with society, right? How do we make sure that we understand how to interact with our ecosystem and be successful at the same time. And I'd like to start slowly. Unfortunately, we have to start closing already. I know we can keep going for hours, but I think perhaps one of the questions I'd like to pick up from the audience before going to our last question is, how is it possible, Slim, to create successful companies in such an environment? And perhaps we don't even have to look at Algeria specifically only, but how do we create successful companies in highly volatile environments? What can we learn from Rouiba?
I can talk hours about that, because I think it's the most interesting part of your entrepreneurship, how do you call it, day, or your entrepreneur's day, and
journey, maybe.
Those thousands of challenges gives you the sense that there is no limit to be an entrepreneur, whatever environment you're in. You can overcome whatever issue. Everything is possible for an entrepreneur who really wants to succeed. So everyone asks me, but if you complain about the business environment, why you haven't left and went to easier environment? You lived in Canada, why you didn't stay in Canada? I came for family reason, and then I discovered an environment that fit with my personal skills. I like challenges. I like to fight. I like very difficult issue to overcome. I remember when I was at the university studying computer engineer, I was specialized in artificial intelligence, but 40 years ago, could you imagine what was in artificial intelligence 30 years ago? It's completely stupid. My French teacher, I don't know if you call it teacher, I use that word, at the university, he told me, Slim, I think that you have an incredible capacity in finding solution in very difficult problems. I told him, I don't know why. I know that I really have that ability. And he told me, use it as much as you can. It's exactly what I'm doing. Difficult problems, solution. There is solution to everything. And it stimulates my entrepreneurship spirit.
Thank you so much. Honestly, Slim, we've had the pleasure of course, over the past years of speaking to you very often, and it's to me personally, as a member of a family business, and you know, to my sisters, it's always an inspiration to speak to you. To be very honest, and you always give us that energy of, you know, if you can do it there, you know, you can pretty much do it anywhere. It's a bit like New York, but in, you know, in a different way. But Martin, I'd like to hand over to you perhaps for some closing words from your side before we come to end the session, Slim.
Right. Can I have a question?
Yes.
About COVID? Can we say a small word about COVID, please?
Of course. Of course.
We are addressing COVID issue. Yeah. Okay. I think for family businesses and also for other families, I think we already talked about that. COVID crisis is a huge challenge, but also it brings to the brain of entrepreneurs the ethic point. And the ethical point comes when, there is an opportunity to, let's say, reduce the number of employees in my company, to reduce my cost, to reduce salary, to reduce other things. And the ethical issue is an important, the ethical point or value is an important value in the life of an entrepreneur that want to succeed. So you have all your set of value, but the ethical one is the most important one. You couldn't take decision that challenge or put people in a very difficult time because you are not paying attention to them, you are not taking care of them in a proper way. So in family business, more than in multinational businesses, people are important, people that are working for you, people that you are interacting with. And if you hurt them, do not expect them to be nice with you, and do not expect them to work properly with you. So be ethical, be fair, but don't take sometimes opportunities to make more money at the expense of others. This is my point.
Thank you, Slim. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
There's nothing more I could add on that one. I mean, what I'll say is that, yes, I think this particular value question, the internal compass, your own drummer, you know, that's been very, very interesting to navigate the various challenges, I think, that we've been hearing about, you know, through your company's history and through your family's journey, you know, through, you know, these particular turbulent waters. So we're really, really appreciative, you know, of, you know, all your time that you've spent with us. And there's much more in the case study. So please go take a look at the case study, and you'll see, you know, in more detail, you know, what we've been hearing today. And, you know, again, thanks so much for joining us today. Over to you, Farida.
Thank you very much. So same for me, Slim. As I said before, even before you made that very important second point, you know, it's always an inspiration. I feel that one of the contributions that we hope that this project is making is that through the lens of history, we can literally inspire today's leaders as well, because, you know, right now everybody is facing a difficult moment, and I think it's very important that we understand the complexity and the multitude of facets that impact business leaders. And I think you've really given us a wonderful kind of tour d'horizon of what it means to be a truly responsible and visionary business leader. Before closing the session, I'd like to just give you a very quick outlook on what's going to come with regards to the project. So we have 2 more profiles that will be published, but at the same time, we are working on revamping our website so that more and more information will be available on family business histories overall. And hopefully very soon we can announce an addition to our project with regards to kind of an expansion of the research project by itself. Please feel free to contact us. We have had a fantastic audience that stayed with us for the full hour, which I'm very, very impressed with. If you have questions, if you have comments, please feel free to reach out. And I'd like to come back one more time to you, Slim. One of the things that I think you've mentioned beautifully is the importance as an entrepreneur to be part of an ecosystem. And I'd like to really give you that credit very much and very clearly that projects like these, projects like ours, couldn't exist without entrepreneurs who are ready and available, you know, to open their doors and to share. So thank you once again, Slim, for being with us.
Thank you.
And we hope you enjoyed it. Martin, always thank you for the collaboration and for joining us. And thank you to all our attendees for being with us, and hopefully see everyone very soon. Thank you. Take care.
Thank you.
Bye.